I'm Tim Nelson, and today with me here is Nathan Eckel. Say hello, Nathan.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well, and it's good to have you here today. We're continuing our webinar today on the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. We want to remind you that this is an unofficial webinar, and we do not represent her, but we feel that this book is important enough to share with you for those of you who are interested in making changes in your work or your career or anything in your life to make you more productive and feel like you're moving ahead. So that's our purpose here today. And I think we're just going to move right ahead with Chapter 4, and Nathan is going to lead us in our discussion today. So Nathan, go ahead and take it right away.
Okay, Tim, and I want to congratulate you and everybody from Chapter 3 because we got through a lot of content that's really foundational stuff having to do with the words that we use when we think and what we say that describe our current situation and circumstances either in a negative way or in a proactive way or a fun way even. So review Chapter 3 if you haven't already seen it, but we're in Chapter 4 right now. Whether or not you want it, it's yours. So we're going to talk about 6 steps to getting what you want. We're going to talk about reclaiming your power and then taking action. Is everybody ready? I hope so, because we're going to go for it right now. So we have 6 steps. And here's the first step. You want to list the payoffs you get from staying stuck. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's almost like Dr. Jeffers is suggesting that maybe for many of us, we might be self-sabotaging in a certain way, that chatterbox, so to speak, that is chattering, that we're listening to that's the voice inside of us that says, no, you can't do that, or it's a tape of maybe what a teacher or a principal or maybe even a parent or a loved one said that holds you back instead of propelling you forward. So it's almost like she's suggesting that by staying stuck, listening to the chatterbox, that we're actually getting a payoff, and it's not a proactive payoff, but it's a comfort payoff. And it's not a good thing, that instead we should be aware of what is comfortable instead of achievement-oriented and even rewarding. We want to go from the back of the school bus where we are complacent and just happy to just kind of ride there, and instead we want to get behind the wheel. I don't know about you, Tim. When I was a kid, I liked being in the back of the bus because whenever we hit a bump or a pothole or something, we'd all fly up, and that was what we were into back in the day. But having a nice, fun, bouncy ride is kind of fun and comfortable, but it's not where we always want to go in life. So away from those negative payoffs, and instead you want to be aware of our options. Tim, anything about that?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is what we call long-term or short-term gratification. How, short-term gratification, we want it, we go buy it, and we want the payoff right away, but we also know that if you put your money in bank and then keep it there for a while or invest it, that the payoff is going to be even better if we wait. So I think that's one of the points she's making here.
Absolutely, Tim. That's commentary about that. So here's a second step. You want to be aware of all your options in a given day. And that's why the vocabulary is so important. That's why the mantra and the pain to power and all these things that we're learning is so important. You can say, I can't do it, or you can choose to think or say, I won't do it. That implies that you have an option to do it or not to do it. So I won't do it is kind of thing that reminds you that you do have an option, and that's good. Here's another step. Notice what you're saying. So much of this has to do with what we're saying and what we're thinking, but when you're conversing with other people, what you have in terms of content, is it this? Maybe it's this, or maybe it's this. Maybe it's griping, pity, or complaining. If it is, that's going to hold you back and delay the ultimate gratification, the proactive gratification that Tim is talking about, but it's going to hold you back, and it's immediately rewarding and gratifying to just gripe and fall into those habits. But in terms of you self-actualizing and getting the best that you want for your life, it's going to hold you back. So here's another tool. You want to get a notebook, and she's suggesting that you list the ways that you can turn a situation around, and you can turn an upsetting situation into a positive situation, even just by listing. Maybe there's one way that you do have a choice. So it's really an I won't instead of an I can't. Maybe there's just one way, and you can write it down so that it's not in your head, and you see that you do have an option. And you know what, Tim? I'm thinking there's always one thing that we can do. Do you know what that might be?
No, what would that be?
You just told me. You just said it. And this is unscripted, but it popped in my head. You just said it. You said the word no, right? That's always something that you can say.
Right.
Big no. So that was just kind of an inspired thought. Tim, it just came right out of his mouth. This is awesome. Let's move on. Here's another step. We want to begin identifying. It's like life is just a transaction, and a transaction can look like a gift sometime, and it might just be a booby prize, or it might be a true gift. But a lot of times in life, you have to kind of put up a little bit of a filter because there are booby prizes. But you know what? Even if people give you a booby prize, or if they kind of dump on you or whatever, or give you something that you don't want, or baggage or trash or garbage, sometimes if you look at it close enough, you can find a silver lining. And so I think that's Dr. Jeffers' point right here, that you can see the bad situations, but identify ways in which those bad situations were even gifts. And if you can do that, then you're really thinking proactively, and you are really on your way to getting an internal locus of control in your life. Anything to add with that, Tim?
No, I really like the way you've gone through these lessons and these 6 points, and you're really capturing it very well here. But always looking for the good that comes out of a situation, even as small as it is something that can change us, and change our attitude, and change our mood. And actually, I think it can even go so far as to change our body chemistry.
Absolutely. I think there's evidence for that. I'm not going to go into that because we need to move on. And here we go. Here's another tool. She says, go 1 week. This is the chatterbox again. And going 1 week without complaining or criticizing. It's almost like at this level, we talk about the chatterbox that Dr. Jeffers calls it, that voice internally that says bad things or just kind of races or whatever. We want to not agree with the chatterbox. We want to break our partnership with the chatterbox by not parroting with our mouth in the atmosphere what the chatterbox might be saying. And a lot of times that's criticizing and complaining. So here's the other thing we want to do. We want to reclaim our power. We got to take that power back. Just, go with me right now and take that power back. We want to avoid casting blame on externals. We want to realize that nothing outside of ourselves can actually control our thinking, the way we see or interpret the externals, or the way that we act or react to those externals. We want to respond, and we want to not blame others, and we want to take the responsibility for being proactive and responding and making things better. Second thing, avoid blaming ourselves for not being in control. We're doing as well as we can. It's a learning process. Don't blame. Don't should yourself. You're on your way to getting it back. And then thirdly, this is really important. Don't be a victim, and be aware of when you're having victim orientation or playing a victim role. For those of us, Tim, that are leaders, sometimes I would even take it to say, be aware when you're feeling entitled or entitlements, because I think it's kind of two sides of the same coin. I mean, I've led organizations, and I've had a number of leadership roles Certainly you have those roles as well in your academic circles and in your business circles, Tim, as both of us kind of have dual roles. And it's very easy to feel entitled. And if you're a leader, the moment you start feeling entitled, hey, when do I get invited? I thought the holiday party was free for me because I'm a former leader or whatever. That can be victim talking and victim speak cloaked in a leadership orientation. So anyway, just a little bit about that. Here we go. Moving forward, get out your magnifying glass and learn those clues that are going to tell you that you're not being responsible for what you're being, having, doing, or feeling. That's a lot right there. Hit the pause button and digest. We're moving onward. And then here's what the chatterbox looks like, everybody. We found it. It's just one of those things that just kind of, you know what I'm talking about, that just kind of rattles and chatters. That's what I see. So you want to familiarize yourself with the biggest enemy, number one. Public enemy, number one, is not the person in jail right now. It's the chatterbox inside me and inside you. And you want to use these exercises to replace the chatterbox with a loving internal friend. I like that, Tim.
That's a beautiful statement. Yeah.
And have a look. Yeah, no kidding. So anyway, that's the chatterbox, everybody. Stay away. Run away from this. Okay. Now, when you figure out the payoffs, I'm missing a T there, figuring out the payoffs that are keeping you stuck, we talked about that at the beginning. Once you find them and once you write them down, you're going to become unstuck. So that's going to be a really good thing for you. Here's another exercise. Determine what you want in life. How proactive, how driver's seat oriented is that? And then act on it. Don't wait for somebody else to give it to you. You're going to be waiting really long. I have more that I'm going to say about that in another session here. Not right now, but I'm going to be aware of the many choices that I have in our actions and how we feel about things, any situation that comes our way. That comes back down to writing down our responses. And, you always have the choice to say what, Tim?
No. Or I will.
Thank you.
I won't.
That's
or
right.
I won't. Yes.
Yeah. So you write that down on your sheet. You always have the choice to do that. You can choose the path that contributes to your growth and makes you feel peaceful with yourself or others. It could be that path. It might be this path over here. Might be this path over here. Or might be this guy's path over here. You have many paths, many options available to you. And move on to the next one. Hey, it's our resource page. We're all done. And Tim, I'm going to hand it right back off to you. Thanks so much, everybody, for holding on to this content. We're starting to put it into application in our lives. It's going to make a big difference.
Nathan, thanks for talking about those points today. So valuable, so many good tools for us to help ourselves move ahead in our lives instead of feeling stuck, helpless, or wherever you think you might be right now. Take a step right now. Repeat those truths to yourselves. Find where you are in the pain to power and take action today. Identify your fear and move through it. Even the small ones build up to the accomplishing the big ones. Thank you for coming today. This has been a great chapter 4 with so much content. Nathan and I really enjoyed being with you today, and we hope you'll tune in again for chapter 5 when we continue our webinar. And so, Nathan, it's been great being with you today, and look forward to seeing you again. So you take care, Nathan, and take care, everyone.